This is our wheelbarrow. We picked this up when we were building the house about 5 years ago. Used it extensively for that 12-14 week period, and then the following year doing some of the landscaping. And then we just set it out in the yard. As you can tell, it's in disrepair. It's rotted out over here, and the tire doesn't hold air anymore. So we're going to make some modifications to it, change out some wood, and see if we can get this thing operational again. So I'm just going to take all the nuts and bolts off of here. I got 2 on the back of the handle, 2 in the center, and then a pair around this wheel area. First one came off real good. I was real pleased with that. There's a little bit of rust on the nut itself, but the bolt is in real good shape. When I first got it, I put oil on the bolt, and boy, that seemed to have worked wonders over the couple of years that it was just lying out in the field. So these are the parts that are disassembled now, and the last piece that I have to collect up are a couple of bolts that are, and several of them freed themselves. So these have slid through all by themselves. This one I'm just going to have to tap a little bit. There she goes. And lift the rails off. I want to be able to reuse this. This rail has to be replaced. I can probably reuse this one, but depending, I might want to recut this one. It's pretty wet. I've selected a piece of 2x6 lumber that I had, and I'm going to use a table saw, and I'm going to cut 3 or 4 pieces of 1.5 by 1.5 out of that, and I'll select the best ones that come out of it, and I'll use that to make 2 new handles. So I used my table saw, and of course I had gloves on and safety glasses on, and I cut the 2 pieces of new wood. Actually, it was 1 piece of wood. I actually cut it into 4 strips. These are the best 2 that I've got. So the next thing to do is measure out and pre-drill these holes here, 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 and here. Actually, these 2 are optional because that's where the wheel assembly is going to go. These are optional. I have the old handle set on top of the new piece of wood, and I'm going to use the drilled holes in the old piece of wood as a template to show me where to drill for the new piece of wood. So these are just held on top of each other. I just finished that hole, and I'm going to go ahead and run the second hole here. And so these 2 will receive the wheels. But again, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that part, so I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to assemble the new piece of wood using these 2 holes, and then I'll figure out what I want to do for the wheel assembly and also for the cap on the end. So I'm getting ready to put some of these bolts back together again, and what I'm electing to do is put a little bit of oil on them. Just rub it around a little bit. So items get reassembled backwards from the way they were taken off. In this case, the bolt goes in from the carry side of the unit, and then you apply this metal plate through the bolt. Apply your piece of wedge wood, this one, and then your handle and support goes next. And you attach the 2 bolts. Keep them loose until you have all your pieces attached, and then you can go back and tighten them back up again. In attaching the wheel assembly, I elected to use a couple of lawnmower wheels that I had left over, and the assembly system for that. So I just used a wood screw and attached it to the rail, put a block of wood in between to stabilize that, and so then I just attached the wheels. They use wing nuts. So you'll notice that they're on an angle, and I'm going to have to test it out to see if I'm going to need to build this part out so that it's level. But I'm actually hoping that it creates some more stability in operating the wheelbarrow. So just about done. Eventually I'll get to the rear here, and I'll figure out what to do with the handle area here, if I want to shave that down and round it out like the old ones were, or I may put a cross member on them and have a secondary handle to it. So I haven't decided what to do with that yet, but otherwise it's taken about 45 minutes to go through this. I did use a couple of different tools. The drill, I used a hammer to put some nails in here and hold that block of wood in, so 2 nails. Used a couple of sized wrenches here, an adjustable wrench here. I still have some extra pieces here because that was the old wheel assembly. Did use a spot of oil, and of course I used the table saw. And other than that, that's about all the tools that I needed. I finished the secondary modifications to the wheelbarrow. I attached a stop plate from the former design to the front panel here, and moved the wheels back. So I ended up removing about 4 inches of the support. I used wood screws to attach, lag bolts, and then I added 2 pieces of 2x6 lumber to the undercarriage support arms. That lowered the wheels far enough so that they just clear the wheelbarrow carry section. Keeps the center of gravity pretty close to where the load is going to be. Makes it easier to carry the load. And then I shaved 3 corners of the handles to make it easier and more comfortable to carry. So I sanded here, here, and this edge here. I didn't sand the inside upper edge of either side. I can do that at any time, but it doesn't affect the operation. I just as soon keep the extra wood on for strength. And I just hauled 4 loads of Kentucky damp clay, a couple hundred pounds, and it operated just fine. The other modification that I made, the last modification, was the lawnmower wheel assembly right here wanted to twist when it was under load. So I added a tack nail here and here to keep this metal plate in alignment, and I did that on both the left and right hand side. Depending on your wheel assembly, you may or may not have the opportunity or need to do that. But just keep that in mind for future reference. So the wheelbarrow operates just fine now. It's got great stability. As you can tell, these wheels are spaced pretty far apart, nearly 2 feet. Have fun with your next project.